and therefore the best movie of 2022 is... What is up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel, Lifestyle Critic. I hope you're having a brilliant day. So 2022 has been a bit of a mixed year, hasn't it, in terms of the movie business? Some brilliant hits, but then also some massive misses as well. But there were just too many movies to pack into a top 10, so I've had to extend it into a top 15. So I'm going to go through my favorite 15 movies of 2022, and I'll do a quick recap of my review in this list. But if you want an in-depth full review, then I'll link all of those reviews in the description box below. But anyway, let's begin with the ranking. So at number 15, I have to put Thor: Love and Thunder. Now this movie is really easy to criticize, and I totally agree with all of those criticisms. I mean, I have focused on it a lot in my in-depth review. In terms of Ragnarok, really did reinvigorate the Thor character and really did inject a lot of comedy, which was then continued brilliantly in Infinity War. But I feel like this movie just took it way too far. And the fact that they had Christian Bale playing Gore the God Butcher, absolutely incredible casting. Obviously this guy is now infamous for playing Batman, and they had him as Gore, absolutely incredible. And they just wasted that potential. But you know, this isn't my top 15 list for a reason, as I do feel like there are some really great moments in this film for sure. I mean, even though they were few and far between, I feel like Gore was a really brilliant villain. I feel like Eternity was really cool at the end. I love the fact that Natalie Portman became Thor. You know, there were some really cool moments in this movie for sure. And I'm just really hopeful that Thor 5 really does then return this character to his prominence, and then maybe has got a bit of a goodbye swan song in there as well. Now at number 14, we have another comic book movie, this time Multiverse of Madness. Now this film, I just feel like it was a bit unfair, as the fan expectation with this film, I feel like this movie was never going to be able to achieve that. I mean, Kevin Feige definitely has heard that everybody really does love the cameos, and they really want to have everybody back, which is of course going to happen in Secret Wars. But that being said, I can't let this movie completely go scot-free, as you know, they did put Multiverse of Madness in the title, and even though they did really quickly, blink and you missed it, went through the multiverse, they definitely should have and could have done so much more with that concept. I mean, the Illuminati were decent, but they did kind of spoil it all in the trailer footage. But the only real redeeming factor with this movie is the incredible Elizabeth Olsen just fantastically bringing Scarlet Witch and Wanda to life. I mean, WandaVision, still to this day, is my favorite Disney Plus show released so far, and it was just so cool to have it continued, even though Sam Raimi then did admit that he hadn't even seen WandaVision, which is why you can see that this movie was a little bit of a mess. So in at number 13 is another comic book movie. Comic book movies really did need to be better in 2022, but I just had to include them in my list in some way, shape or form. So in at number 13 is Black Adam. So obviously this movie didn't perform as well as Warner Brothers and of course Dwayne Johnson would have wanted it to, and it definitely felt like a bit of a 90s movie, and it did rehash a lot of stuff that you have seen before. But you know, I still really enjoyed my viewing experience of this film. It definitely felt like a Dwayne Johnson movie, and I absolutely love the Black Adam character, and I think he's been depicted really well in DC animation, so I was really excited to see him in live action. I mean, it didn't necessarily live up to the expectation in a similar way to Multiverse of Madness, but you know, that being said, it was still a really cool movie, and I was actually there at the premiere, so I saw that Dwayne Johnson literally put his heart and soul out to promote this movie, and it's just really disappointing for him, I'm sure, most of all, that it didn't do as well as it could have done, and also that the sequel that he was also heavily promoting and teasing in terms of having Black Adam against all of the Justice League characters this time, along with the Justice Society and along with the Suicide Squad as well. So that Black Adam 2 sequel could have been really brilliant, but obviously it now will never happen. But anyway, let's get on with the list. So next is a little bit of a cheat. I put two movies as I just didn't know which one to choose for the number 12 spot. So in at number 12 is both Grey Man and Scream 5. Now I really enjoyed both of these movies. I mean, The Grey Man was a really cool action adventure espionage spy type movie. It definitely, similarly to Black Adam, did rehash a lot of stuff that you have seen before, but I feel like the cast, the caliber of that cast, were just absolutely incredible, and some really outstanding action sequences and set pieces. You can tell that they spent a lot of money on this film, and I feel like Netflix have done a really good thing this year in terms of having true cinematic box office level movies on their service, which was just absolutely incredible. And similarly, Scream 5 was just so cool. I absolutely love all of the Scream movies. By the way, you can check out all of my reviews for every single Scream movie and the ranking of all the Scream movies as well in a separate video. But I really love the fact that they brought back all of the veteran characters, and they had a bit of a requel this time with this film in terms of having a bit of a combined sequel and reboot. And I'm really excited to see what's going to happen with Scream 6. But both of these movies I don't feel like were good enough to be in the top 10. And then speaking of movies that just narrowly missed out being in the top 10, I have to put in at number 11 Mortal Kombat Snowblind, which was so good. And I'm just really surprised that this movie isn't getting as much prominence as it deserves, as it's so good. It's such a brilliant animated movie, first of all. And if you're a fan of Mortal Kombat, then you are going to love this film, as Kenshi is such a cool character. And I just feel like they told a really innovative new origin storyline, and it continues the DC animated universe that they have created for Mortal Kombat. And it was just such an epic adventure, and I really enjoyed it. I was a little bit apprehensive going into it, as of course I love all of the main characters that they have in all of the Mortal Kombat lore, but they've just done so many storylines with them in terms of live action, animation, and a lot of TV shows as well. So it was really cool and refreshing actually to have a brand new character being in the spotlight. And like I said, it was really epic, and I just really enjoyed this film. So now let's get on with the top 10. So in at number 10 is going to be Black Panther Wakanda Forever. What a brilliant movie, and what an impossible task that Ryan Coogler and the entire cast actually had in terms of their main lead actor and character, Chadwick Boseman and T'Challa, both dying, and then just continuing a narrative. It was just so impossible, like I said. But still, they were able to create a really powerful movie, a really emotional movie, some brilliant action sequences. Namor, another mutant in the MCU, was really brilliant, and it felt really contained within the Wakanda space, whilst also continuing the wider narrative of the MCU that they are telling, especially given the fact that Val was in here, who has been popping up in a number of different other projects so far. For example, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and of course Black Widow, and will now reappear in Thunderbolts. So I can't wait to see what the future is going to look like. But like I said, Wakanda Forever was such a moving movie, and they did an absolutely brilliant job with that film. Now in at number 9 is another one that's really underrated, which is Batman and Superman Battle of the Supersons, which was such a good DC animated movie. I'm a massive fan of animation, and I love the DC animated universe. I feel like pretty much all of their slate of movies within the DC animated space has been an absolute major hit. And it's a bit of a shame that this movie, like I said, isn't getting as much prominence as it deserves. And also it is a little bit of a shame that it's not interconnected into their new Tomorrowverse, which they are creating as their new DC animated universe. So, you know, it is a bit of a shame that it's a bit of an original story that's completely separate. But that being said, it was such a wicked movie, and I just hope that they give Jonathan Kent and Damian Wayne even more prominence in future oncoming storylines. So in at number 8 is Spirited, Apple TV's Christmas movie. This was so good also. Will Ferrell and Ryan Reynolds together in this comedy musical is just absolutely genius. It was just so fun. I loved all of the musical numbers. Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell both individually just delivered so fantastically in this film. And then all of the scenes in which they're together were just so good. Everybody loves A Christmas Carol, and I feel like this new interpretation of it was just really good. All of the throwbacks to all of their past works was absolutely brilliant, of course, including Elf. All of the other supporting actors and actresses were really good too. And this movie, you can't help but have a massive smile on your face as you're watching it, as like I said, everybody delivers, and all of the magical sequences did look really cool too. So in at number 7 is actually another animated movie, so this time DC League of Superpets. Now I don't understand all of the hate with this movie, as I had such a good time in the cinema when I was watching it. So firstly, I love how it's not afraid to really tap into the wider DC world of characters and the universe of all the different storylines that everybody now knows. For example, how much of a megalomaniac and super brain Lex Luthor has, but this time it was focusing on the pets, and it was just so funny. Dwayne Johnson and Kevin Hart are just an absolute comedy genius also, and they were just absolutely delivering in this movie. Similarly, all of the other actors and actresses were really cool too, and I just loved it. All of the superpowers were really cool. It had a really gripping storyline, and the villains, I feel like villains nowadays, I feel like people prefer the villains to the main lead heroic character, and I just feel like this movie is just such a shame, as I would have loved to have seen what could have happened in a sequel, which James Gunn may well greenlight one day in the future. But like I said, DC League of Superpets was so good. So next up is another movie that I feel like is underrated and overly heavily criticized, which is Uncharted. So I had such a good time with this movie too. Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg similarly absolutely delivered, and I love the PlayStation game, and I thought it was really cool to actually focus on the origin storyline, the stuff that happens before the games, and it was really, really cool. I love swashbuckling adventures. I actually love adventure movies, easily one of my favorite genres, and I feel like it was really cool in this film. They definitely could have done a little bit more for sure from a puzzle solving point of view, but the action sequences were really, really cool. Tom Holland was absolutely hilarious. There was some excellent dialogue that was written for this film. The visual cinematography was really, really cool. Big action pieces, and it was just such a fun movie, and I'm just really hopeful that it will get a sequel signed off. Next up is another bit of an adventure movie that was released early on in the year, which is The Lost City, and it had an excellent caliber of actors attached to this project, and I love the cameo appearance, the extended cameo if anything actually, with Brad Pitt, and also Sandra Bullock was then cameoing in Brad Pitt's movie Bullet Train, which I thought was a really, really cool trade-off. And this is another really, really cool, fun action comedy adventure movie. I did think it was a little bit silly in points, so they definitely could have made it a little bit more epic from an adventure perspective. But that being said, you're having such a good time watching all of these excellent actors on the big screen just doing what they do best, and it was just such a fun adventure movie, as well as being an equally brilliant comedy movie as well. All of the actors really did show that they have got really great comedic range, and all of the action pieces were really, really good. You could tell that they spent a lot of money on all of their visual effects. Like I said, the ending definitely could have been a little bit more epic, but that being said, I feel like The Lost City is a really, really wicked movie. In at number 4 is another animated movie, which is the best animated movie of the year, which has to be Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, which was so fun, so charming, has so much wit, and I just love the character arc of the Puss in Boots character in terms of being super arrogant in the beginning, and then just goes on this journey of true growth and learns actually from a lot of the other characters. And that's one thing, but also all of the magical stuff that takes place, the continuation of a lot of storyline threads from the first film. The ending was absolutely brilliant. All of the twisted fairy tale stuff that happens in this film is really, really brilliant. And a lot of things actually happens in this movie, but it's so well paced that you're just enjoying it and you're just loving the ride. And I just feel like Puss in Boots: The Last Wish really has put the Shrek franchise back front and center. Next up is another movie that I'm surprised hasn't got as much prominence in other people's top 10 lists, which is The Adam Project, another Ryan Reynolds movie. Ryan Reynolds is just on fire right now. He just signs on to such good projects. I believe you can really trust him as an actor that he is going to deliver an excellent spectacle for you. And I just feel like The Adam Project was just such a brilliant combination of telling a really heartfelt, small-scale storyline whilst also having the big dramatics of a bit of an end-of-the-world type storyline happening in the background. And I just feel like it balances all of that so well. Excellent casting in terms of a younger Ryan Reynolds, and I just feel like all of the sci-fi moments were really, really cool. All of the heartfelt family dynamics were really, really cool. Traveling back into the past was absolutely brilliant. All of the technology was really, really cool. I just feel like The Adam Project was just really, really brilliant. And like I said, Netflix are just absolutely smashing these cinematic level movies to their audiences so spectacularly. Next up, we have the best comic book movie of the year, which has to be The Batman. Now, I love the Batman character for all of the reasons that everybody else does, but in particular, as I'm sure you've gathered, I love murder mysteries and a lot of detective work, and I love the fact that Matt Reeves really did tap into this aspect of the character, as a lot of people do focus on, you know, the rich playboy aspect of Bruce Wayne and the big action set pieces with the villains, and that is all here for sure. But I love how at its core is a bit of a mystery movie, and the Riddler is obviously the perfect villain to bring that to life so well. And I'm really, really excited to see what Matt Reeves is going to do in the future with this little contained universe, and what that also means for James Gunn's wider new DC universe is going to be really, really interesting. But the best movie, the number 1 movie of 2022 has to be Glass Onion / Knives Out 2, which was just absolutely incredible. Like I just said, I love murder mystery movies, and this one literally does reinvigorate that franchise. I mean, if you have seen murder mystery movies, especially within this genre, like I said, I've watched pretty much every single murder mystery TV show and film released so far, and they have done pretty much everything. So it was really innovative that Rian Johnson and Daniel Craig once again did something brand new here. Now, I wasn't that impressed with what they did in Knives Out 1, as I feel like that wasn't really a murder mystery. Whereas this time, I just feel like it was just so brilliant. All of the true A-list talent in this movie just brought so much charisma to the screen. This billionaire lifestyle that takes place on this exclusive Greek island. I mean, chef's kiss, absolutely brilliant setting. The glass onion was really, really good. And the fact that this movie just has so many different layers was just absolutely outstanding. And I just loved every single moment of this movie. And you know it's a good sign of a film when by the end of it you just want more. And I already just cannot wait for Knives Out 3, as I'm sure it'll be absolutely incredible. But you know, that was my top 15 list for all of the best movies in 2022. I feel like the slate of films definitely could have been stronger, and I am really hopeful that 2023's list is going to be even stronger. But now I'd love to hear from you. What is your top 10/top 15 list? Like I mentioned right at the beginning, you can check out all of my individual, more in-depth reviews, ending, explained, and theories videos on all of these movies, and I'll link all of them in the description box below. But like I said, now I'd love to hear from you, so please let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you in my next video.